Checking things, seeing if we're going here. Okay, looks like we're live. 1 second. I'm gonna make sure to put out some notices about that. Okay, and one more. Hey, Jordan Morgan, welcome to the stream. Okay. All right, so we're in Fallout 76 today. I don't have actually too much to say about. Hey, Lord of Mercy. I don't have too much to say about Fallout 76 other than, of course, the Atlantic City content comes out December 5th. So as soon as that comes out, I'm going to start recording footage there, finding out what the story all involved is there, and making videos on that. Now, in the interim, I'm going to finish... Jeez, there we go. I've been playing Starfield a lot lately, so the controls are slightly different for zooming back in. Yeah, what happens in New Vegas? I'll, of course, be covering that as well. Yeah. New Vegas and Atlantic City. We got two gambling towns now. But... So again, I'm going to cover that stuff when that comes out. In the interim, I'm going to finish my Settlers of Foundation lore video series, which is why we're here in Foundation. I put out the 8th episode on Friday. That covered the actual vault raid itself. I think there are going to be 2 more episodes left. One of which is going to cover when the Brother to Steel arrives, and also deal with the arrival of the new responders, and basically just the relationship between the settlers, the Brotherhood, and the new responders. And so that's going to be episode 9. And then episode 10 is basically just going to kind of be a wrap-up video, covering all the additional characters that didn't really quite fit into the storyline overall. And then along with that, it's basically like little ancillary characters that are part of the Settlers of Foundation, but again, don't really get a part in the story. So it's at that point I'll talk about like the fact that there are the 3 Sonnies here. I'll talk about the Forager, I think that's what his name is. The guy who ends up, who's a light companion that shows up at your camp. He's an author, just sits around in a chair all day. Along with that, there's also the Wanderer, which is a light companion you can get from, what's it called? You just find him out wandering in the wilderness. And I actually still need to find that companion, so I'm going to have to find them before I put out episode 10. But for the moment, I'm pretty good with the script for episode 9. It's not complete, but I can probably finish it in the next couple of days. The Brother of Steel's interactions with the Settlers of Foundation is basically to get them to stop using the Hellfire missiles, or sorry, the Hellstorm missile launchers. And then along with that, it also deals with just the general problem with Dr. Blackburn and the fact that he created a whole new race of super mutants. And also deals with the arrival of Cassie Halloway, who was one of the people who was imprisoned within Vault 96 and was one of the test subjects there. I'm actually hoping that that's an unfinished story, and I'm hoping that it'll turn out that Dr. Blackburn actually was right, and that he had some sort of perfect version of FEV, and Cassie Halloway will turn out to be like fully cured and prevented from getting any additional disease, but also never turns into a super mutant. Of course, we'll never see. I say we'll never see. We'll see what happens with that. Again, they haven't gone back to that content since they released it, so it's something they could of course return to at some point in the future. But for the moment, it's kind of a just a hanging storyline there, or potentially one that's already concluded, and it is just simply the case that she was not infected with the FEV, despite the fact that she was one of the people that was part of the experimentation going on there. So as for Starfield stuff, I do have some announcements on that front, which is that I have finished putting together all the data on the resources, animals, and plants of all the Starfield planets. Now, it's entirely possible that I've missed some data in there, but it's stuff. I'm ready now to release this stuff to the public. So let me go ahead and pull this stuff into view. It should be there. Okay. And so again, this is stuff that I'm going to make available to the public with a link to these pages here. Excel sheets, well, Google Sheets, I should say. So this is all the animals you can find across every planet in Starfield. So you can see here I've got it by genus and species. Now, I could have probably done this a little bit more granularly and done like flocking as a category or like a prefix and suffix. So do like flocking, and then again the genus followed by the suffix, and then along with that I could have done the same thing. Well, no, the plants are pretty much what they are, but the plants again I've also covered, and so we're looking here at 764 varieties of plants, going off the the count of rows here. And with fauna, we're looking at, what is it again? 945 animals that I've covered in Starfield. And so this is just kind of interesting to see where you can find different species of these genuses, specifically like the siren, which was used as a as a xeno weapon by the United Colonies. I'm pretty sure that the original homeworld for those were Lantana 8b, because that's the only other world you can find them on other than Nera and the Narian system, where we know they were being used as a weapon. So then let's see. Yeah, there's a couple spots here I just noticed I got to check on this where it's red. I meant to go back and check and see if those were accurate, so I'll have to do that. But again, generally this gives you a good idea of where you can find things. Now, it's entirely possible that I skipped a star system when I was going through all my data. I have surveyed every single star system, every single planet, but it's possible that I missed that when I was going through system by system, adding all the data to these sheets. Now, again, there's also resources here. This one's been done for a while, but my guess is with all this stuff, it's about 98% accurate. There's probably at least 1 to 2% that is wrong. But this should give you an idea of, like, if you're looking for specifically, like, oh, I forgot to freeze the top 4 rows on this one. Let me see if I can do that real quick. Freeze 2 rows and then drag this thing down to there. Yeah. Okay, there we go. So again, if you're looking for a planet that has both tetrafluorides and ionic liquids, because they do exist, there are 4 planets, I think, that have that exact combination. And if you're looking to make some isotropic coolant, or whatever the heck it's called, you can scroll on down until you find a planet where both of those things are held in common. And there we go. There's one right there. Hyla 8A. Now, if you missed it on Twitter or X, I also released a list of 24 planets on which to build colonies, where you can pick up every resource available. Now, the outpost system is bugged in Starfield at the moment, to the point where I literally had an outpost completely disappear. Like, the planet is just gone. I have no idea what happened there. It's just gone. But at some point in the future, once they fix the outpost system, I'll go back and I'll actually build out this theoretical network. But if you missed it, it is available on my X, Twitter, whatever. It's one of my most recent tweets, so if you want to check that out, or X posts, I don't know, regardless. Okay, so again, if you missed it early on, going to cover the Atlantic City stuff as soon as that comes out on December 5th. Until then, I'm going to be finishing up the Settlers of Foundation. Once I finish the Settlers of Foundation, I'm going to do the Fallout 3 metro system. I'm going to map that entire system, show you where you can go, how to get from one place to another, because it's definitely a system I personally have trouble with myself, finding a specific part of the city. If I need to get to, I don't remember specific names for those things right now, Vernon Square or something like that. I don't know if that's even close. But regardless, if you need to get there, I'll have like a full map of how to get from place to place to place. So that'll hopefully be useful to people. Now, after that, we'll see exactly what happens. Probably, well, at that point, I don't know. It depends on how long it takes me to finish the Settlers of Foundation, how long it takes me to finish the metro system. If I finish both of those things and it's still not December 5th, then I will go ahead and produce a video covering the Gunners. Well, not the Gunners, sorry. I'm going to be first covering Hallucinogen Inc. Specifically, there's site in Boston, but along with that, the different components of theirs that made it their way all the way here to Appalachia, specifically hallucinogen gas, which is meant to be used in riot control, and actually managed to cause a massive number of deaths over at the nuclear power plant down there in Charleston. You can actually just barely see it from here. Let's see. There we go. That is one thing that they definitely need to work on for the next game, is distant textures. Those have got to be improved, because that looks horrible. I'm sure it's difficult. Don't get me wrong, because we're talking about massive distances that we can see in this game. But there's got to be some way they can do that better. I mean, you look at Red Dead Redemption 2, the distant textures. Granted, you don't have massive cities in the distance that you're having to render, but there's just so much better. There has to be a better way to do this kind of stuff. Anyway, though, again, that's what I'm going to be covering there. In terms of Starfield, I just started the Ryujin quest line. I basically took the rest of the day off yesterday after finishing compiling all that Starfield data. And in the future, I'm going to, again, continue to produce more lore videos on Starfield as well. That was weird. I just noticed some interesting... the way the lighting disappeared there. Whoa. That's a little trippy. Not sure that's supposed to be happening quite like that. Anyway, though. So yeah, that's currently what I'm doing there. I'm going to be covering... I need to do the addendum video for the ECS Constant. The thing there is I need to finish the game first, and I still have actually yet to beat Starfield once, because I've been spending so much time surveying all the star systems and putting all that data together. Once I do beat the game, though, and what I'm probably going to do is finish out all of the quests that I have, then I'll beat the game, then I'll come back through again. And at that point, I'll do the ECS Constant addendum video. But yeah, so I still need to do Ryujin, and then like a dozen side quests, something like that. At that point, I'll have completed the game, I think. So I still need to do the Mantis content. I need to do the Crucible content. A couple other things here and there. Some smaller stuff. Neon still has plenty of quests for me to do, so I'm sure that'll take me a little while to do it. But once I complete that, I will actually start putting out more videos on Starfield as well. In terms of Fallout 76, what's left to cover? Because again, there's going to be new content with Atlantic City, and I'm finishing up the Settlers of Foundation. I still need to go over the Mothman cult, and people who have been following me for a while know that I've been waiting for the Mothman Equinox event to show up. I have not been diligent about checking on whether or not that's happening in the near future, and I need to get back to checking that, but the last time I did check, which may have been a couple months ago, there was nothing in the future about the Mothman Equinox event taking place, which I really need to have to take place so I can properly cover the Mothman cult, because unless I record the footage, I can't really talk about it, you know? At the same time, that's also definitely something of extreme import for covering Point Pleasant in a remake of what is one of my oldest Fallout 76 lore videos. Basically just covering the changes that have happened to Point Pleasant, and also just covering it more in the style that I've covered cities more recently. So Grafton, for example, I did recently. Well, recently, it's probably like 6 months ago at this point. And so basically that's what I'm going to be doing there in Point Pleasant as well. What else? Atlantic City will also bring additional sites that are coming to the game, and at least one site that is changing. The Gilman Lumber Mill is changing. Along with that, they're adding like a handful of sites through this area here. And so I've already recorded what those areas look like beforehand, or at least I think I have. We'll see. And I've already done a surveil video on the Gilman Lumber Mill, so we'll see how all that turns out in the end. It's going to be interesting to see the changes, especially there's supposed to be like a Brotherhood outpost that shows up right here. We'll see exactly what happens with that. In fact, like this camp right here, which I used this camp to record my channel update from last October, because it's a haunted house. It's like right next to the location of the Brotherhood of Steel outpost that's going in there, and my assumption is actually probably that it's going to be moved. Or, you know, I'm going to be told it's like, you can't actually build an outpost there, or something like that. Let's see here. So we'll come right on over here. Oh, not sure what's going on over there. But yeah, this is the haunted house I built for that update video. You can come right up here. Nope. If we go back out here, I'll show you the general location where this outpost is going to be in all likelihood. I saw a couple of friendlies on the compass. Okay, are they still... Ah, there they are. Okay. They're crater raiders. That's why they're showing up as friendlies. Okay. Like, along with that, there's, like, a pond back over there. And, yeah, it's just a little general flat area around this camp up here. So this is basically the area where we're going to see another Brotherhood outpost, at least as far as I can tell. I had somebody the other day asking me about a Responders Part 2 lore video, because I've done Responders Part 1. The problem is that there's so little to actually cover with the Responders at the White Spring at the moment. I'm hoping that'll change to an extent with the Atlantic City content. Currently, basically the people that we have there were to support the expedition to the pit. And, oh yeah, that's another thing. There's supposed to be another expedition to the pit. So when that time comes, I'll of course cover that as well. It's supposed to be part of the Atlantic City output content, whatever. And so I think, and I do not have this confirmed in any way, but if you watched my videos on the pit, specifically my lore video on the factions of the pit, my assumption is that we're going to get at some point, or were at that point, that we we're going to get another expedition to the pit to go to the mill, which is supposed to be the headquarters of the Fanatics. And that is what I'm hoping this expedition is within the pit system, pit expedition system. Now, whether or not that's actually what we end up getting, we'll see. But for the moment, that's at least what I'm hoping for. Now, in the Atlantic City stuff, I have deliberately stayed away from any sort of spoilers or anything like that, because my hope is that I will, get to go into this somewhat clean and, be able to then record the full stories of it and stuff like that and go on completely uncolored by anybody else's assumptions of what's going on in there. Yeah, I've watched the trailers they've released for it and stuff like that, but other than that, I've stayed away from anybody else talking about it. Weirdly enough, I've seen people posting stuff from the private test server. I don't understand how they're getting away with that. I feel like I remember the last time I was part of that, which was before the release of Wastelanders. There was like a specific part of the end user license agreement that they make you sign for the PTR that you don't talk about this stuff. And so it's like, what? I've seen people posting the locations of of like the new sites and stuff like that and showing actual scenes of them. And I'm just like, how is this not a problem? But regardless, maybe I just misread it last time and I just didn't understand what the thing was asking people to do. But anyway, I've also had people say that something's going to happen to Ingram Mansion in terms of it like no longer being a cultist outpost, which maybe like somebody was asking me if I could get a shot of the what's it called, the Mothman hanging out at the Ingram Mansion, and up to this point I haven't seen him up there before, but yeah, they were saying like, oh, the site's going to change, and I haven't seen anybody else saying anything about that. I don't know if there's any truth to the matter, but anyway. So, yeah, so for the moment, again, though, finishing the Settlers of Foundation, then in terms of 76 content, I'm still going to cover the Mothman cult, Point Pleasant, and I've got a few other cities that I still kind of want to remake. Specifically, we're talking Beckley and Welch. There's Welch. Sorry, it's such a tiny little spot on the map there. Beckley and Welch both need to be remade at some point. But I still actually have yet to make a video on Charleston itself. So at some point, I'm going to have to cover Charleston. I've done every other city other than that. The first... I'm also going to recover Watoga and... not Watoga. Sorry. Man, what is this? Bromwell. Sorry, Brommel. I used to call it Bromwell, but somebody who's local to the area tells me that the pronunciation is actually Brommel, which is a town that actually didn't make it into the game, but these the Hornwright Estate, the Garahan Estate, the Unfinished Mansion, all this stuff right down here, this is on the outskirts of Brommel. And so I'm going to recover that. The first lore video I made that I'm not going to remake is Lewisburg. So I'm still going to redo, again, Point Pleasant, Beckley, Welch, and Brommel. And also probably redo my video on Sam Blackwell, just because I still didn't know exactly what I was doing in terms of making lore videos at the time, and I was like showing everybody exactly where you find the content that I was covering, which I'm sure some people are interested in, but more people I think just want the actual story. And so that's what I'll do. I'll go back and just recover the story of Senator Sam Blackwell in that manner. And the same way I did the Sunday Brothers, because I've done a remake of that one as well, where the first one, again, I walked around, showed everybody where to find all the lore that I was specifically covering, and when I came back, I did it the other way. So, yeah, I've got the Mothman cult, and then there was another group. Oh, yeah. The other day I was actually thinking I might produce a short lore video covering the Secret Service here at Vault 79, because I realized after I put out my video on the raid on Vault 79 that I didn't actually talk much about the Secret Service, and there is actually a story to the Secret Service that's in there. So I'll probably put together a small lore video on that as well. So, and we're basically looking at, again, once I finish up the Settlers of Foundation, 2 more lore videos, and then yeah, there's also new content for the Blue Ridge Caravan Company that I'll need to cover, and then probably also, yeah, the Nuka World on Tour event. I'll probably cover that stuff as well. But starting to run out of Fallout 76 content to cover. Again, we'll see what exactly we get out of Atlantic City, but it could be that once I finish covering that and these other handful of things, that I'm basically done with 76 until they put new content in. And I've been specifically kind of stringing it out because I don't want to stop covering it, but again, there's just not that much left to cover at this point. So we'll see. Got a lot of stuff to cover in Starfield. It's just a question of figuring out exactly what to cover first. And then along with that, making sure that I don't miss anything, because we're covering a gigantic chunk of the galaxy. And not really, even though it's not a gigantic chunk of the galaxy. It's just that there's 120 star systems with like 1,600 something planets, and making sure that you don't miss a piece of content when, like, there could be, stuff spread out across a dozen star systems. It's a piece of work. So it's going to take me a minute to really cover that stuff properly. So anyway, though, doesn't seem to be much content in the chat at the moment. So nobody seems to have any questions or anything like that. So again, I think I'll just leave this as kind of having been an announcement. I'm going to put out the link to that folder of data on Twitter, and at least that's just the way I'm going to do it for now. If it turns out to be the case that it gets too much traffic and Google doesn't like the fact that I'm just sharing a Google Drive folder with the general public, then I will find some other way to share that data. But for the moment, I'm going to assume that it's not going to get a huge amount of traffic, and I'm just going to leave it there. So I hope that this has been informative for y'all, and I hope y'all have a good rest of your weekend. For me, it's another 5.5 hours until Monday. And so anyway, though, I hope y'all have a good week. It's Thanksgiving week this week, so have a good few days if you have some days off. And I'm glad you enjoy the content. Dry Cleaner Nick. See you later at Lot of Mercy. And I will see you all maybe Friday. We'll see exactly what happens. Sorry about the delay in getting here from last Friday, but we're here now. So had just some other things come up in the interim. Anyway, though, I hope you all enjoy what you see coming up in the next few weeks. And I will see you again either Friday or maybe it'll be another weekend sort of a thing. But yeah, there'll definitely be at least one video this week. So I'll see y'all later. Have a good rest of your weekend and a good start to the week.